Good evening, I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching World News Tonight, live from Warsaw. Poland has scrambled fighter jets after Russians launched aerial attacks on western Ukraine. We'll have more on that in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at tonight's headlines. Anti-migrant protests organized in cities across Poland. Epstein grand jury testimony to be released as Trump sues Dow Jones and Rupert Murdoch for $10 billion. And no place to cool down as the heatwave reaches Norway's glaciers. Russia continues its large-scale drone attacks against Ukraine. One person died and 6 more were wounded as UAVs hit a residential area in Odesa last night. But the attacks are not limited to the country's south. On Saturday, Poland scrambled its fighter jets in the wake of Russian drone strikes near the Polish border. We're joined now by our Ukraine correspondent, Oskar Terji, in Kyiv. Good evening, Os. So is there any particular reason for the Kremlin to send its drones close to the Polish border?
Well, this has been happening with increasing regularity over the last couple of weeks, with the Poles having to scramble those jets as Russia has been striking targets in western Ukraine. Another large-scale attack, Odesa particularly badly hit, but 7 people killed and 31 injured in attacks across Ukraine, with that one person being killed in Odesa. Now, we have some residents that spoke out about what happened in Odesa. Let's take a listen to that.
When the air raid alert sounded, we wanted to drive to the shelter, but we already started hearing Shahed attack drones that were already very close. We hid in the inspection pit. There is more than a meter of concrete cover, a good option to take shelter. My military experience told me we could hide there. All the windows have been blown out. Half of my apartment burned down. There was a more severe fire on the floors above. The Shahed attack drone hit the 8th floor directly. We had a couple of minutes of silence in between the hits. It was a chance for us to get out. We heard an elderly woman screaming.
So again, another rough night for Ukrainians. The Ukrainian government saying Russia launched 344 drones and 35 missiles onto the territory of Ukraine. So widespread, as he said, targeting areas of western Ukraine, but also Donetsk, Kirovohrad, Dnipropetrovsk, Sumy, Kherson, Volyn, Zaporizhia, Mykolaiv, Odesa, and Zhytomyr. So a widespread attack across Ukrainian territory. Now, President Zelensky has also released a statement tonight confirming that Ukraine is actually seeking further negotiation rounds with Russia, including new prisoner swap agreements that are trying to be organized between Kyiv and Moscow. Now, Zelensky said that Rustem Umerov, the now National Security Council spokesperson and secretary, he is going to be tasked with sending new proposals to Moscow for further rounds of negotiations. There's no real clarity on the details of those negotiations, but certainly something the Ukrainian government has announced on Saturday following another brutal round of Russian airstrikes on Ukrainian territory. Back to you, Maciej.
That was Oskar Terji reporting from Kyiv. Thank you very much, Os, and stay safe. A wave of anti-migrant demonstrations rolled through Polish cities on Saturday. The protest in Warsaw was organized by a group of nationalist vigilantes who have patrolled the Polish western border, allegedly to curb the influx of illegal migrants sent back to Poland by Germany. Piotr Miszczuk has this report.
The people who came here were united by anti-migration slogans, but in fact those were very much anti-government and at times even racist, such as All White Poland. The groups that were protesting here were for instance, the far-right Confederation Party, the vigilante group that is patrolling the Polish-German border, as well as the supporters of the Legia Warsaw Club. Some of the people who came here were anti-migration in general, others were only against illegal migration.
I would say as long as they're legal and they provide something positive for the country, then I'm okay with that.
I'm protesting against illegal migration, not only illegal migration, but also legal migration, because it is necessary to protect our country, our culture, our tradition, and not to flood it with migrants the way we see it in France, in Germany.
But there was also another demonstration, an anti-protest. Those people were protesting against fascism, racism. The groups didn't clash. The police had to create a cordon between the two groups, and those people from the other protest told us that they are afraid to live in Poland because of the hate speech.
Today, the rights in Poland are not protected, and all that they are meeting is hate.
We want them to feel safe. They're escaping from unsafety in their own countries, so we want them to feel like home here.
According to government statistics, there are some 2.5 million migrants living in Poland. The biggest group are Ukrainians, a majority of whom came to Poland following the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Those people here were also protesting against those Ukrainians, but there was also another wave of migration under the Law and Justice right-wing rule as part of the visa for money scheme. People from third non-EU countries came to Poland in droves. But what we can see now in Poland is that the tensions over the migration issues are flying high. For TVP World from Warsaw, I'm Piotr Miszczuk.
Failure of the airspace management system led to a temporary chaos in Polish airports on Saturday. Although disruptions took no longer than half an hour, the cause of the malfunction remains unknown and is being investigated by the Internal Security Agency. Zuzanna Jurek has more.
Polish vacationers making their way over to the country's airports on Saturday morning were met with countrywide problem of delayed travel. The cause? A malfunction of the air traffic management system. Poland's Ministry of the Interior was quick to respond.
Due to a failure of the air traffic management system used by the Polish Air Navigation Services Agency, I would like to inform you that the Minister Coordinator of Special Services, Tomasz Siemoniak, immediately launched an investigation by the relevant services upon receiving notification of the failure. Officers from the Internal Security Agency are gathering, analyzing and verifying information on the matter for possible diversion. I urge everyone to remain calm and warn against misinformation and fake news.
Widespread delays were anticipated, but it was mostly long-haul flights that were impacted, according to the spokesperson for the Kraków airport in the south of Poland.
We had some difficulties with takeoffs today. We have delays. These are small delays, several minutes or so. In the case of two Ryanair flights, the delays were slightly longer. But these flights have already taken off too. LOT Polish Airlines flight to Chicago has successfully taken off too. And we've not had any problems with landing. They were held on time.
And what about affected passengers?
The delays certainly affected several hundred passengers. However, the carrier kept them informed of potential delays. Fortunately, for the time being, there have been no huge queues. If the outage had lasted longer, there would have been some problem with it, but now the traffic is sputtering.
LOT Polish Airlines has also said that this morning's disruptions will not have lasting consequences.
Due to the failure of the airspace management system, some LOT Polish Airlines flights will be delayed. Our operational services are making every effort to keep the scale of irregularities as small as possible. At present, we do not anticipate cancellation of flights.
Approximately an hour after the first reports of the malfunction, Warsaw Chopin Airport was back to normal operations, and shortly thereafter the Polish Air Navigation Agency announced the traffic management system was restored.
After following the necessary procedures, the basic traffic management system was restored. The reason for the temporary problems was a malfunction, which was immediately corrected. During the operation of the backup system, the security of operations was at maximum level at all times.
And for Poles eager to holiday, these minor delays seemed unable to kill their spirits.
We heard that there was a problem with takeoffs, but that the problem has already been solved and our flight is only delayed by 30 minutes.
Indeed, these delays affected us a little, but only minimally. For now, there is only a half-hour delay. Everything is on schedule, in order. We are happy to go on vacation.
So far, it is unclear what caused the system malfunction. The Internal Security Agency's investigation is currently pending. For TVP World, Zuzanna Jurek.
The Trump administration has ordered the release of court transcripts pertaining to the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case. This comes after the Wall Street Journal published an article highlighting the relationship between President Donald Trump and Epstein, for which the newspaper's parent company and owner, Dow Jones and Rupert Murdoch, have been sued by Trump for $10 billion. Franciszek Pilis reports.
Almost 2 weeks after the FBI and the U.S. Department of Justice claimed Jeffrey Epstein's cause of death was suicide and that there was no evidence he had a, quote, client list, the Trump administration asked a federal court to unseal grand jury transcripts in Epstein's case.
I have asked the Justice Department to release all grand jury testimony with respect to Jeffrey Epstein, subject only to court approval. With that being said, and even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and radical left lunatics making the request. It will always be more.
Jeffrey Epstein, an American financier convicted of sex trafficking and jailed, died in his jail cell on August 10, 2019, before he could even face trial. According to reports, Epstein kept a client list of people who used his sex trafficking services, which is rumored to have contained the names of several public figures. Epstein was also Donald Trump's friend, according to the president himself.
I've known Jeff for 15 years, terrific guy, he's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
After mentioning his intention to make the Epstein files public during his campaign for a return to the White House, Donald Trump has recently lost interest.
It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
The FBI and DOJ statement, alleging there was no client list, has sparked controversy among both Trump's supporters and opponents, including close ally turned opponent billionaire Elon Musk, who claimed in a since-deleted post on social media that Trump himself is on the Epstein list.
I lost a lot of faith in certain people, yeah, I lost, because they got duped by the Democrats. The Democrats are good for nothing.
American newspaper Wall Street Journal highlighted Donald Trump's relationship with the late sex trafficker in a recent article, alleging that Trump wrote Epstein a bawdy birthday letter with a handmade drawing of a naked woman that said, "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret, signed Donald." In response to the article, Donald Trump denied authorship of the letter and filed a $10 billion lawsuit for slander and violating libel laws against WSJ's parent company, Dow Jones, and its owner, Rupert Murdoch, who also controls Trump-allied Fox News, as well as other conservative media outlets.
We have just filed a powerhouse lawsuit against everyone involved in publishing the false, malicious, defamatory fake news article in the useless rag that is the Wall Street Journal.
But what effect will the high-profile lawsuit have on Trump's relationship with right-wing media outlets controlled by Murdoch?
I certainly don't think Fox will stop giving Trump attention, because Trump means views for Fox. It means views for their television outlet. It means views for their website. As many media outlets, not just Fox, have recognized, Trump is good for their business. Whether it changes Fox's approach towards Trump depends on the state of the Republican Party. As long as the Republican Party is largely a Trumpist party, Fox will be alongside them.
Following the fallout of the Trump administration's poor handling of the Epstein case, the DOJ, instructed to do so by Trump himself, filed motions urging the court to unseal the Epstein transcripts, as well as those in the case of Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's accomplice, who is currently in jail. For TVP World, Franciszek Pilis.
Syria's president announced a ceasefire on Saturday after clashes between Bedouin forces and local Druze minority, followed by Israeli strikes on Damascus. Will the agreement hold, or should Europe brace for another wave of Syrian refugees? Natalia Komarov reports.
Syria's internal security forces are struggling to secure the province of Suwaida after the presidency in Damascus announced an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire on Saturday morning. This follows weeks of sectarian violence between Bedouins and the Druze community, which erupted amid Syria's fragile post-revolution internal situation and resulted in at least 350 deaths.
The Syrian state is committed to protecting all minorities and sects in the country and is proceeding to hold all violators accountable, regardless of their party. No one will escape accountability. We disassociate ourselves with all the crimes and transgressions that have occurred in or outside Suwaida.
Despite these words, it has been reported at the United Nations that Syrian forces took part in attacks on the Druze.
Although the new Syrian government claims to treat all the religious and ethnic groups equally, I believe the reality on the ground is different, and there's a deep lack of trust, especially between the government and minority communities like the Druze.
Earlier this week, Syria's neighbor Israel launched missiles on government buildings in Damascus, citing protection of the Druze minority. Israel aims to continue its occupation of Golan Heights uninterrupted and possibly even expand into southern Syria. This poses additional problems for the Syrian administration, already struggling to establish control over the southern parts of the country, where the Druze minority is mostly present.
Aggression and violence, which is spread by Israel, means that they are not interested into ceasefire, so they might provoke local factions to attack each other.
Israeli attacks on Damascus were widely condemned.
In addition to violating Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity, Israel's actions undermine efforts to build a new Syria at peace with itself and the region and further destabilize Syria at a sensitive time.
Amid a complex web of internal and external forces, Syrian civilians are once again caught up in an unfavorable situation.
Instability and conflict means that these people will not return to Syria, will not be able to do it, that more of them will run out of their homes, and that will affect Europe as well.
Unfortunately, more violent clashes were reported just a few hours into the ceasefire.
I believe without strong and inclusive national authority, any ceasefire agreements will remain fragile.
More decisive action from the international community might be needed to secure a peaceful future for Syrian citizens, both in the country and abroad. For TVP World, Natalia Komarov.
Well, for many, the summer holidays are a time of baking in the sun. Not everyone enjoys hot weather. To escape the heat, some choose more northern destinations, but this year there seems to be no good place to run to, as even the traditionally cooler countries witness the scorching heat. Mikkel van Blomstein reports on a surprisingly hot summer in Norway.
Known for its spectacular views and temperate climate, the Norwegian village of Geiranger is a premium destination for those who don't like the summer heat. But this year, a so-called coolcation will not bring much reprieve, with temperatures reaching over 30 degrees Celsius.
Usually I come here to escape from the heat in Spain, and now I'm having the heat from Spain in here, so...
I currently have French tourists traveling with me. They're on what they call a coolcation, where they escaped to here to cool off. But that coolcation, excuse the expression, went to shit for them.
But the implications of higher temperatures are more serious than some sweat and heat-induced lethargy. Climate change has already impacted the region. Over the last couple of years, geologists have warned the widening of the local Akernes crevice is accelerating, increasing the risk of catastrophic landslides.
It can happen in 2-3 years, or it can happen in 50 years. We don't know that.
For now, locals simply notice a change in scenery.
40 years ago, the glacier stretched right out into the water. Today, it's just a thin, sugar-like stripe left, far up in the mountain. For me, it doesn't mean that much, but I have children and grandchildren who will inherit this after me, and I feel sorry for them.
Tourists wanting to stay cool will now have to go north even further. For TVP World, I'm Michiel van Blommestein.
As diplomatic tensions between Budapest and Warsaw rise, the election campaign in Hungary is gaining momentum, with Viktor Orban's rival, Peter Magyar, of the TISA party, touring the incumbent Prime Minister's political stronghold. And to talk about the Polish-Hungarian relations and the latest from Budapest, we're joined by Zoltán Tar, MEP and Vice President of the TISA party. Good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. So, Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski writes on social media, let me quote, Viktor Orban has turned Hungary into the poorest country in the European Union and is now threatening to leave the EU. This threat does not scare me because for years he has been sabotaging the EU in coordination with Putin. I warn you, this is what theft and nationalism lead to. And his Hungarian counterpart, Peter Szijjártó, responds. Quote, Radosław Sikorski lost his common sense to warmongering. Now, have Polish-Hungarian relations hit their lowest in decades?
Unfortunately, yes. I think concerning the diplomatic and official governmental ties between the two countries, we can fairly talk about that this is the lowest in the partnerships of the two countries, which traditionally and historically are very close. So we are very sad to see this development because this shouldn't be like that. And unfortunately, I have to say that this is Hungary, which really, and the Hungarian government at the moment, which is really destroying this historic partnership.
So what will happen with the former Polish Deputy Justice Minister granted asylum in Hungary if you win the next year's election? Because this very much seems to be the main bone of contention between Warsaw and Budapest.
Yes, I think this is one of the main and most characteristic of the problems which we can see between the two countries and the two governments recently. I can assure you that we will comply with the EU laws and with all the regulations which are imposed, and obviously we will definitely look into the legal and legal details of this particular case from a distance where we can see, because we don't have all the information at the moment available to us. What we can say is that this is quite unfriendly from the government of Hungary to hide the deputy minister. And this is something which the Orban government does quite frequently, giving refuge to politicians who are fleeing their country because of some political or even legal cases against them.
But is Viktor Orban really willing to leave the EU? Let me quote the Hungarian Prime Minister. There's no such moment on the horizon when it would be better to leave. Spiritually, perhaps we are drifting apart, but economically, Hungary benefits more by staying. How to interpret these words?
Unfortunately, I think these words are really speak for themselves. This is one of the worst experiences for us, that what Orban sees from the European Union is really just the financial benefits. From our point of view, from our approach, Hungary is part of the EU and we are members of the EU. So it's not just the benefits, but also the burdens which we have to take. When we signed the treaty, when we became part of the EU in more than 20 years ago, it was obvious that this will have benefits, but also it will have some difficulties. But when one becomes a member of a family, then this decision implies that we take on the good and the bad things as well. For us, there is no question that we belong to the European Union. We would like to be not just a faithful, but a constructive member of the EU. We see that the current Hungarian government is not a constructive member of the EU. They are not supporting the renewal of the EU and the struggles the EU is going through at the moment to fight with the various challenges of our age. And we would like to change that. We would like to definitely be part of solving the problem and not part of the problem.
Now, if TISA wins next year's election, will you accept the next EU's budget proposal, or would you rather like to change it? Because Viktor Orban openly says it's absolutely unacceptable for Hungary.
Yes, I mean, if we are talking about the next year's budget, that's one thing which is obviously at the moment has its difficulties, which we hope that these difficulties can be overcome in the coming weeks and months. But also concerning the next MFF, we see some very good signs, as well as there are some difficult parts, and we do hope that we will have a chance also as members of the European Parliament, but maybe later, as we come to power, hopefully by next year's election, to make some modifications in favor of the people of Hungary as well.
Now, Hungary wants to remain as the top European spot for Chinese investments, says the country's foreign minister, Peter Szijjártó. Now, given the current geopolitical tensions, is this the approach TISA agrees with?
Well, for us, the Chinese connection and the Chinese partnership is quite a difficult one. We see that China has made a lot of financial investment in Hungary, and this is something which is very important. We cannot deny that. Actually, at the moment, we don't see what are involved in those contracts with the Chinese companies. So that's why we don't really have a clear picture on which we can base our opinion. But we also see that to have a fruitful and good cooperation with the government of the United States, we have to deal with the current relationship with China. At the moment, the Hungarian government is in a very difficult situation because of the economical situation of the country. The inflation is rising, especially food inflation is rising quite significantly month by month. And this is something which is very, very difficult to handle for families and especially for pensioners. For us, the economic growth of the country is very important, and this is a priority. And we have to see how we can accommodate the current and already existing Chinese investments into that. Obviously, if this is a situation where we are in now, so we have to find out how we can work in this situation in a way which is beneficial for the people of Hungary and also complying with the rules of the European Union.
Well, the economic situation of the country is very much the hot topic of the election campaign. However, I wanted to ask you about relations with Ukraine. Now, there's been an arson of the Hungarian minority church in Ukraine's Transcarpathia region, and some anti-Hungarian slogans were sprayed on the facade of its church, of this church. Now, is this a pure coincidence, or does it have something to do with the election campaign kicking off for good?
Well, to be honest, at the moment we don't have the required information at hand. So there is still investigation going on. What has happened in Ukraine? What has happened with the church? Exactly who is behind that action, and at the moment we are trying to grab the pieces and try to put together the picture, which is not easy because obviously the Hungarian government has its own narrative, and it's quite difficult to find the exact information which would be necessary in order to find out what's going on. We can say for sure that there are all kinds of activities initiated by the Hungarian government to interfere with the upcoming elections in Hungary. We have no idea whether this incident is one of those or not. We have no idea who is behind this.
So you'll have to look into it. Zoltán Tár, MEP and Vice President of the TISA party, was our guest this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
And thank you for watching and stay with us for much more here on TVP World.